Hi friends. So now let's start with one transformation example. So when I view this, I know what I did is I went to new and create one transformation. So that's how it looked like. So so in the transformation you can find view and design. So the view will show you how this transformation is designed, and the design tab will have multiple component in each, so that you can use all the components, what are the components basically needed for your use case. So it will have input and output and streaming, transform and utility, flow. That's how there are various components available out of it. So first of all, what is transformation basically? While doing the ETL, so it transforms data from, you know, one source to another source, being modified or being applied. Some functions are being applied with some modifications in the middle of it, and that's how ETL would be done. So that is the meaning of ETL. So basically, for transformation, you take the data, source data, and you do some modification or applied any functions or any add or multiply anything in between. So you transform the data to destination. That's how ETL is called. So for that, we'll take one example out of it. You know, so maybe I take a CSV input. Yeah. Um, so I took the CSV input, and sorry guys. So I have some issue with my recorder, so I was stopping there. So let me continue from here. So here, as an example of transformation, so I thought of what I planned is, let me do one thing. So what I'm doing is, now I'm taking a CSV input, which is CSV, and I'm transforming that data into deep. Yeah, please bear with my drawings. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I'm taking one CSV input. So ideally, some you know some logic should be applied here in between. So but currently I'm not doing much. So I'm just directly taking the CSV input and dumping the data into the database. So uh, let me do that now. So I'm taking CSV input. So if you open it, when you take the new transformation, go to input, there you find one CSV, just drag here. So that's how it works. So I did now, and if you open it, so you will have one delimiter and exposure. So delimiter, if it is CSV, it is comma separated. Sometimes you can find pipe delimiters, or maybe, space delimiter. So there are various delimiters you can apply, but currently I'm using a comma separated file. So in the file name, browse here. Let me go to desktop. There is my desktop and test PDI. So this is the one I'm using now, and preview it. So don't preview much, 1,000 records, it's waste of time. Just preview 1 or 5 records. So there you will find field 1, 2, 3. What happened? Should be like this. Something is wrong here. Let me check it. Test video. Test video.csv. Delete that comma. Yeah, string it. So yeah, sorry. What I did is so without pulling, without pulling this get fields. So I previewed. That's why it is showing some wrong data. So that's why before that we need to put get fields. Get fields will give you all the headers out of it, id, name, status. So id, name, status. So then you can preview it. There you get. So previously I did like preview without clicking on get fields. I just previewed it, so it was went wrong by the default field item. So that's how it went wrong. So now it's working fine now. And there if you see, so this automatically uh, you know formats the data. So it is id as an integer. So it is formatting data, and so type is integer, string. So it by default it detects what is the type of the data field, and if something wrongly identified, you can correct here sometimes. And the in case of date, you need to go with this formats. So if you are not familiar here, so you always find one. Sorry about it. So if you are not familiar with that, if you are getting something, get a thought of whether I'm doing wrong or not, so always you can find help. So there it will explain all the fields available in this screen. So yeah, and CSV input is giving you all the help config. So there you find all the use cases. That's how you can go with help. And yeah, so now there are a few other, so I'm not much interested in those. So click on OK. Now what I did is I took one CSV input and reading the CSV input from here. So I want to, my aim is to put the CSV data into a database. So output would be a database. So the output component, where you find one component called table output. So click on this, and if you click it, so it will connect directly. If sometimes so just we will have one thing without connected. So whatever, in that case, just go over on this. If you find this icon, just drag it here and main output step, so that will connect them. So here what is happening here, okay, so it is taking the input CSV data and dumping the data in a table. So the table output, you need to give one connection. So what you need to do is establish a connection to the database, so that in that particular table, whatever I picked here, so in the table that CSV data will be dumped. So you're the first time connecting database, so you click on view. So if any other database already connected here in this transformation, so you can reuse that database connection here. But as we are having only one database connection, I mean, this is the first database connection we are establishing this transformation, so we cannot use anything other than clicking new button. So here there you can find a lot of resources, I mean data sources you can connect. Out of it, I'm connecting to MySQL database, which is installed on my local machine, local host. DB name would be I'm using dbeaver community edition here. Dbeaver community edition. So there I'm finding YouTube PDI as database name here. YouTube PDI and the default port number, username is, and give username password and give a connection name. Yes, give a proper user connection name so that you can easily identify when you want to reuse it in the transformation. And I'm using native JDBC connection and test it. So there you have connection established. Okay. For this local host, port 2 and database. And click on OK. There. So as MySQL database don't have any schema, so I'll leave it this blank and browse for target table. So as I said, the schema is not given with an arrow like this to expand. So in case of MS SQL servers, you find a schema, a different schema. So there you will find one arrow to expand it. So there you need to get the table from the schema. So in my SQL case, I'm using table directly. So yeah, I forgot to create the database. So let me create one. So I'll connect it to the SQL and database YouTube PDI. So their local host and connect database is YouTube PDI. Create table. Just give a component CSV input. ID int. Var. Commit. There to start from. So nothing is here. So go to this. Now we point this CSV input to that table. CSV input. And there you have two tabs, main options and database fields. So we must not, so we won't use much of it. So to map this, go to database field and check this option, specify database fields, because what actually we are doing here is we are mapping the source columns to the destination column. Sometimes so column names would not be changed, would not be same, sorry. So in that case, we need to manually map those two columns. Let's say in the source table you call ID, in the destination table you may call it as a key. So you need to map that ID to the key column so that that data will be dumped into this destination column. So that's how um, we'll map these columns. So in this, we see here the specify field is by default unchecked here. So without this checking column, so you cannot manually map those columns from source to destination. So check this and get the fields. So where you can find input and output columns and click on enter field mapping. So as those input and output fields are same, so it has identified that whatever the mapped columns is, so that you can, I mean, already mapped because the names are same here. So if it is not the same, so let me do this. So if it is not the same, let assume that this is column id and this column is key, so that you need to select this and select this and add. That's how it works. Yeah. Click OK, then save the transformation and to currents. Create a folder, trans jobs. Put so there you can see CSV input table and output dot KTR. So Kettle transformation dot KTR. So that's how it works. Now, so we will run this I mean this transformation. So for running, you can check this button, and there are various log levels you can consider, because each log level will produce different kind of log. So for basic detailed debug, there are various logs. I prefer detail log while developing, because it will print all the logs, error, detail, everything it will be printed in the detail log section, so that you can see if something went wrong, where it went wrong, so that it will be useful to debug that. So I choose log level as detail and then run. So there are there are parameters and variables we can still use. In going forward videos we can use these as well, but currently we are not using. So let's run this there. So test transformation is finished. The green ticks are showing it is finished. If something goes wrong, you will find one red mark over here. So it has finished now. And now go to database and now run this select star from CSV input table. There you find transformation has successfully dumped the data from CSV input to the table output. That's how it works. And that's how it works for CSV input. So that's all for now. We can come up with one more component in the next transformations, and we'll see one real useful case. So now we looked at CSV input file and how to dump this data into the table output file. So here we indirectly saw one input component, one output component. So for checking only CSV input and whether it is reading correctly or not, where you can find one log output as well, so that you can dump that log data CSV input data into a log file, so that it will print here in the log to check. But now it's fine. How it is working, we can see here. Can be seen here. So that's how the CSV input works. That's all for now. Let's meet in next video. Thank you.